Before we begin today, we'd like to thank our newest patron, Meredith. Welcome to the team. If you want to be like Meredith and get access to bonus content like our notes, our Discord community, and the opportunity to submit your very own study questions, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/podandprejudice. And now, enjoy this week's episode covering the first chapter of Volume 3 of Mansfield Park.
So we started talking about Mansfield Park off mic, and I need to share exactly what happened. Molly turned to me and said, quote,
If this all ends with her marrying Edmund, I'm going to be really upset.
I'm not going to confirm or deny that, but Mel, if you'd like to interject here as well.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Am I live?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. So I don't know who Edmund is. I'm assuming a cousin based off of the story I'm about to tell. But the other day, Milo.
Wait. I'll give you the context really quick. Our main girl is Fanny. Fanny's lived with her cousins, the Bertrams, since she was 10 years old, and her best friend is her cousin crush, Edmund Bertram, who has been her best friend since she was 10 years old. And she loves him with an undying sort of vibe, and he is really into somebody else. So that's the context.
That's the context. Okay, so then this makes sense. So what happened was Molly was reading this week's reading of Mansfield Park, and she put the book down, and a few minutes later, Milo was laying on top of the book.
Milo is our 4-pound dog.
Tiny dog. And so Molly comes back into the room and says, "Oh, Milo, were you reading Mansfield Park?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "It was the cousins." And Molly, completely annoyed and mad and spoiled, makes a face and just goes, "Mel!" As if I, being Milo in that moment, spoiled something in the book. Which, spoiler alert to the listeners, I have never read this book.
I was going to say, Melanie, what is your level of familiarity with Mansfield Park on a scale of 1 to 10?
I love Fire Island, the movie. So a 6.
All right, yeah, somewhere around.
So thank you, Mel, for joining us today.
Yes.
Great episode, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Melanie. I just thought you guys had to hear that little snippet as we go forward. And what are we going to do, Molly?
What?
What are we going to do?
We're going to
Neither confirm nor deny.
neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. I was like, I'm not used to saying that part, so I don't know. I don't know how it goes. I thought we were getting into This is Becca.
Oh, no. That is my line. This is Becca.
This is Molly.
We are here to talk about Jane Austen.
We are here specifically to talk about
Mansfield Park. Listeners, if you're new here, I, Becca, have read many Jane Austen novels through my lifetime.
And I, Molly, am reading all of her works for the first time through this podcast.
If you want to hear Molly read through Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, or Persuasion for the first time, you can listen to seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4 of this podcast, respectively. But that is not what we're doing here today.
No, today we are talking about Volume 3,
Third volume,
Chapter 1 of Mansfield Park.
Chapter 1.
Or Chapter 32.
Yes.
If your book is not broken up into volumes.
Yes, indeed. We have a rather long doozy of a chapter.
Yes, and I can see why you wanted it to go immediately after the previous chapter.
You were like, oh my God, a big proposal happened. Nothing else is going to happen.
Well, I knew that there would be something, certainly, but I didn't realize just what would be. Like, obviously, I knew he wasn't going to give up, but I didn't know that Sir Thomas was going to go off the deep end.
Yeah, that is a way to describe this. It's what the children would call a crash out, I believe.
He has a full-on crash out.
Full crash out. We're going to get into it because there's lots of fun stuff to discuss in this chapter and also some not so fun stuff to discuss in this chapter.
Yes.
There's a lot happening. But just to recap where we were last episode, we had a proposal, Graham, the sound effect, that was deeply unwelcome from Henry Crawford to our girl Fanny Price.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, very tough moment for our girl Fanny. She basically wrote to Mary and was like, thank you so much. None of that, please. She tells Henry, thank you so much. None of that, please. And then she runs away and thinks that's the end of the matter. And then narrator, it was not the end of the matter.
It was not. So should we get into what happens next?
We should get into what happens next. And before we get into it, I will say, like, we'll talk about this, but I want to know, like, your thoughts about this chapter compared to the last chapter.
Last chapter, there was this, like, super happy thing that happened, right? Like, William is promoted. And Fanny received the proposal with an undertone of everything is fine because William is promoted. Even though she was very unhappy about receiving the proposal, she thought, okay, but I shut that down and William is promoted. And the last chapter ended on like a happy note.
Mhm.
And I did call that he was going to misinterpret everything about her reception of his proposal.
Yeah.
But for the proposal then to come through the very proper channels that it comes through in this chapter, because she gets the proposal redoubled, and for her to say no, and for everything to like crash down when Sir Thomas hears that she wants to say no. This chapter is very different in tone. Like she's just crying the whole time.
It's a more serious proposal in this
Yeah.
chapter. It's not like the, "Oh my god, is he even serious?"
Right. Now it's clear that he is serious.
It's clear that he's serious, it's coming, and also, like, we'll talk about it more, but, like, there's just, like, the way that Jane Austen structures each chapter tells us something about where she puts the weight of the story here.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anyway, we should get
Yes,
into what actually
yes.
the chapter is.
Yes, we'll talk more about all of that, I'm sure, as
Yeah.
we go on. So, it's the morning after, and Fanny feels absolutely confident that her letter did the trick, that he is gonna leave her alone.
She's waking up in her little Bushwick loft, and she's like, "Okay, my heat and air is kind of crap in here, but guess what? Sent the text I needed to send.
Yeah.
I'm free."
I'm free. She's like, "He should just leave. He only came back here so that he could take his sister to London. Why hasn't he left yet? Get out of here." So she is surprised to see that he is approaching the house this morning. It's early, right? So it's like the same time that he came the day before.
Mhm.
And she's like, let me just stay up here.
Yeah, she basically is like, "If no one comes to get me, I will not go down there, and maybe he doesn't actually wanna see me."
Yeah, it's possible that he's not even here to ask me about yesterday. Like, it's possible that he's just coming to say hi to my uncle. So I'm just going to stay put. But unfortunately, she hears footsteps eventually.
She sure does.
And these footsteps belong to her uncle. And she recalls as a youth trembling at the sound of his footsteps and has a moment to think about how far she's come, because she doesn't really tremble at the sound of his footsteps anymore, except for right now. She is.
Not the idea of him, but the anticipation of what he might be bringing right now
Yes.
is what's making her tremble.
Yes, exactly, exactly. She lets him in and she gets his little chair set up, and she's so frazzled about the prospect of what he's bringing that she doesn't even apologize for the room. And this is a thing that she often does. And it is coming to fruition here, because whenever she lets someone into the East room, she's always like, "Oh, I'm so sorry I don't have a fire lit." Or like, "I'm so sorry that like I don't have a couch," or whatever, you know?
Mhm.
And in this moment, she doesn't say that. And he's like, "Fanny, don't you have a fire?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm not cold this time of year." And he's like, "But you generally have a fire."
And
And
she's
she's like,
like, "Ah."
she says, I don't know." And he says, "Well, that that has to be a mistake." He says it must be a misapprehension, which is a mistaken belief. So therefore, he's saying the maids must have misunderstood, because the rooms, the East room is meant to be hers, for her to be comfortable in. And so there must be a fire, and she's weak and frail. And so she needs to keep warm. And then he ends by saying, "Your aunt cannot be aware of this." And Fanny wants to save Lady Bertram's face, essentially. She's like, "Well, it was really my Aunt Norris
Yeah,
who."
she kinda mumbles it
Yeah.
under her breath, "Well, it's really my other
Yeah.
aunt."
She mumbles it, and all he hears is Aunt Norris, and he's like, light bulb. Ah, of course. He says, "Listen, I know Mrs. Norris doesn't like to overindulge young people and coddle them, but of course, she herself is a hardy woman, so she wouldn't realize the necessity of a fire for someone like Fanny." And he says he also knows that Mrs. Norris has generally, well, he doesn't actually say Mrs. Norris has shown a partiality towards her cousins, but he says there has been a misplaced distinction in the household.
A
And
misplaced distinction he and her discussed when Fanny was first brought there when she was 10 years old.
you're right, it was totally planned.
Yes,
And
this was discussed.
and he's trying to now kind of brush it off as like, you must understand that we were only trying to prepare you for what we thought your life would be. Like wouldn't want to treat you
He's like, we wanted to make you aware that you are less, but I don't want you to be unhappy and less,
right, just less.
just less.
And he also says that perhaps all of that will have been made unnecessary now because of the news that he brings.
Yeah, and this goes to show you, I like Jane Austen's use here of this like little bit of irony to show how far Fanny has come in Sir Thomas's estimation, and also to show why Fanny has come so far in Sir Thomas's estimation.
Why has she? Well, we're going to talk about it.
We're gonna talk.
We're
about
going to
it.
talk about it. I had a couple of quotation marks that I wanted to just.
There is a lot to unpack in this crash
There's
out.
just so much to say. But in this portion, he says that their prior caution may prove unnecessary because of the fact that she might marry up. And the advantage of affluence will be more keenly felt by her because of the quote, little privations and restrictions. Privations here meaning like deprivations that they've inflicted upon her that quote, may have been imposed. I just thought that was like really ripe, as they say, for him to be saying, like, well, maybe the things that we've deprived you of or that we may have deprived you of may come make you feel even happier now that you're going to be rich.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, so annoying. Anyway, he says, all of that aside, Mr. Crawford came to see me this morning, and you can probably guess why. And Fanny blushes. She looks away, and he thinks, great, she's blushing. That's a good sign. So he tells her, Mr. Crawford had come to request Fanny's hand in marriage. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, we're gonna need like 8,000 different proposal sounds for the next like bit of this chapter.
Yeah, but also like the one where there's like a bomb dropping and like
Yeah, we have quite. I think we have like another. We have proposal get an electric boogaloo.
yeah, yeah,
Like-
exactly. So he's really happy to tell her this, and he thinks that she's happy about it too. So while he's going on and telling her everything that happened word for word, essentially, she's just like silently stewing. And he ends by saying that Mr. Crawford is downstairs and is hoping to see Fanny. And Fanny jumps, which startles Sir Thomas. And she goes, no, he should know after yesterday that my answer is no, I cannot return his good opinion. And Sir Thomas is like,
What?
huh?
Yep, this is a big record scratch in Sir Thomas's brain, who's thought he was walking up here being like, it's finally come. She's gonna get married. I get to tell her. I'll coax her down. And now we've gotten little Fanny Price saying, no, thank you.
Is she saying absolutely not?
Yeah, she is saying, no, 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 no.
Like his idea, where he's coming up here thinking that Mr. Crawford had received encouragement after the proposal yesterday, or quote, as much encouragement as a well-judging young woman could permit herself to give. So he thought, or maybe what Mr. Crawford thought, is that Fanny only said no because he wasn't going about the proper channels. And Fanny is a very proper lady.
Yeah. And I mean, this is why I raised last week whether or not you thought that Henry was being impulsive when he asked, because he didn't ask right.
He didn't ask right. I still don't think he was being impulsive, but I do think that he realized, or that he thought that she thought he was being impulsive and was like, let me ask her uncle.
Yeah, well, he also might have thought, oh, she might not think I'm serious. I know how to make that happen.
She definitely didn't think he was serious. Also, Henry, if you propose to a woman and she doesn't think you're serious, then you have some bigger problems to address with yourself.
If Henry Crawford were open to that sort of self-reflection, I don't think we would be here.
Right, the book would actually have ended a while ago.
Exactly.
So Fanny is like, no, you're mistaken. I gave him absolutely no encouragement. I can't recall my exact words.
Oh,
Which
well,
we remember.
We remember, which was
This is the sort of talking which is very unpleasant to me.
This is this type of conversation that is very unpleasant to me.
Yeah. So she's like, but I know that I told him that it was unpleasant, which good for you, girl. That was the word you used. And I begged him to never talk to me like that again. But if you think back on it, while she did say all those things, she never said no, like to his proposal.
Well, I think if a girl says stop during her proposal, that's a no.
I agree. But to Henry Crawford, I could see why he might twist it in his little pea brain to think,
This is
wait,
very generous.
to think, oh, she wants me to never talk to her like that again. So maybe I should talk to her through her uncle
Yep.
and also get my sister's approval.
Yep.
So while I don't agree with his choices, I see why he specifically thought those things.
This is so generous.
I know. Well, I am generous to him because he is very attractive. Also, like, our listeners hate him.
I mean, I don't want to go confirm or deny anything. There's so much you won't be privy to when we finish this book.
Yeah, I can't wait because I feel like also even just like in the comments on our Instagram posts, people are like, because this
Get his ass, Fanny.
yeah, exactly. Like this bitch. Anyway,
Well, I mean, without giving anything away about like the way the book ends, like quite honestly, this is bad behavior in a lot of ways from Henry. Like what we do on this podcast is we want to see all angles except Edmund's sometimes.
which like, and I also see Edmund's angle, but like we'll go on.
Yeah, we do see Edmund's angle. I'm mostly kidding. But we sit and like we want to indulge in the fact that Henry is like a man on a journey right now.
Yes,
He is a man with a story right now, and he's a compelling character because we know his internal life.
Mhm.
And that doesn't stop us from putting moral judgments on him for his behavior here, and we'll get into it, but the consequences of this conversation are kind of tough.
Yes.
And we can keep going with that. I think
Yes. Also, the consequences of this conversation, quite honestly, have nothing to do with him. Like, obviously, he has stuff to do with this chapter, but what really made this tough was Sir Thomas, but we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Fanny tells Sir Thomas that she would have said even more to the effect of, like, get the fuck away from me to Henry had she thought he was serious, but she didn't want to, quote, be imputing more than might be intended. And I did have to look up imputing, which means to incorrectly believe something is happening for a reason when it's happening for a different reason.
Mhm.
So she didn't want to believe that his proposal was coming from actually loving her.
Yeah, she didn't want to be like, no, I reject this proposal if it were like a fake proposal.
Right, because that would be embarrassing.
Exactly.
We'll come back to that. Just put a pin in it. We'll come back to that. So Sir Thomas says, am I to understand that you mean to refuse Mr. Crawford?
And the way Jane Austen writes that is like with a lot of tension.
A lot of tension.
And that's when Fanny says the word.
Yes.
She does intend to refuse Mr. Crawford. To which Sir Thomas replies,
Refuse him?
fucking why?
Yeah. The fact that this is a very tense moment does not stop it from potentially being my funniest quote because I wrote it down. I'll just read it now.
Yeah.
Because it goes like this. Am I to understand that you mean to refuse Mr. Crawford? Yes, sir. Refuse him? Yes, sir. Refuse Mr. Crawford. Upon what plea? For what reason? I cannot like him, sir, well enough to marry him. This is very strange.
Indeed it is.
I just thought it was the double refuse him for me that really, it was just very slapstick. I know that it's not. It's a tense moment.
Well,
but
yeah, for me, it's so funny that I saw that was your funniest quote listed in our like the notes document, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, I read that so differently because for me, like my heart plummets to my butt when I read it.
my heart did plummet to my butt, and it was stressful. However, it was funny from an external perspective of the fact that like Sir Thomas can't comprehend what she's saying.
Mhm.
But it is scary. Like it's not a happy moment.
No, it's
at
not.
all.
And you like there were so many innocuous little moments you said to me like, oh, Fanny said no to Sir Thomas. Oh, Fanny said no to Sir Thomas. Fanny's now
Saying no.
saying no to Sir Thomas.
And in a big way.
yes.
And oh my God. Yes. And everything that he's about to say is like, how dare you ever say no to me?
Yeah. We're
Oh.
gonna get
And there
into
have
it.
been a lot of moments where I'm like, "Oh, and she stood up to him."
You're like, yeah, she stood up to Sir Thomas here. And it's like, oh, I want to go up to bed. Like really little moments where you've been like, oh my God, she declined something from Sir Thomas. This is the moment she says no in earnest to Sir Thomas
Yeah.
about something.
Yeah. So Sir Thomas can't comprehend this because Henry is a catch in every sense of the word. And she's friends with his sister. And he has been really kind to William. So there's no reason for her not to like him. And Fanny feels ashamed of herself for not liking him. He goes on to say, surely you've noticed that Henry Crawford has been giving you extra attention. And maybe you haven't been like all over him.
I
But
thought you were being proper and I
yeah,
liked that.
I liked how you were receiving his
I
attention.
thought you were appropriately playing hard to get.
But you're telling me you didn't like this is a surprise to you? You never indicated that his attentions were unpleasant to you. And that makes him think that maybe Fanny doesn't know her own feelings. And she's like, no, his attentions were always what I did not like. I think the phrasing there is kind of telling. I mean, it's telling on her, which is that it's not that his attentions were appalling to her. It's that they were not the thing that she likes, which is specifically her cousin.
Yeah, it is not Edmund Bertram.
Yeah.
Which, you know, Sir Thomas then says.
Oh my God, this part killed me.
Yeah.
Like, I was just, oh my God.
It almost killed Fanny too.
Yeah, I felt this with her. So she says his attentions were what I did not like. And Sir Thomas is like, but you're so young. You've hardly met anyone. It's hardly possible that your affections, and then he cuts himself off. And he seems to wonder if her affections are otherwise engaged. He's like, wait, she's not met any men.
Except my two sons.
Yeah, what men what men has she met? So then he's like, "Oh, huh." And he looks at her face and he's like, "No, she looks so innocent, like she can't have been in love already." But so Fanny is like, "Let me put up a mask of indifference," right? Like she's like, "I'm going to just stay as still as possible." And he's like, "Listen, independently of the fact that Henry wants to marry you, which I think is a good choice, I also approve of his desire to marry young. Now, that's like for my own sons, for example, Tom,
Big
that,
T.
that ship has sailed. He's
And
not going to marry young.
And he's gay.
He's gay, so he can't marry anyway. But Edmund seems to have met a woman that he could love. Don't you think, Fanny?" And Fanny says, "Yes, sir."
She's not lying.
Well, does she think that he could love her?
She agrees with her uncle that he could love Mary Crawford, and it's making her very sad.
Yes. Yes. This is a devastating question for him to ask.
Yes, but she can answer it honestly.
Yes.
She does not need to lie to him.
No. So she says, "Yes, sir." And he thinks, phew.
Glad we're not diving too deep into that one.
Yeah. He's like, thank God she's not in love with my son.
Then back to why is she refusing this rich, handsome man?
Yeah, because if she's not in love with my son, then she has no reason to refuse him. So this is just a disaster all around. But she narrowly escaped him finding out about her love for her cousin brother.
She skidded right under there.
Yeah. He then asks if she has a reason to think ill of Henry's temper. And she says no, but what she really wants to say is that she has a problem with his principles.
Yeah, I have this thing. I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before, potentially, where I like to, you categorize people into categories based on whether they're good people and whether they're pleasant to be around, which are two separate things.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a Punnett square of different ways people can be. This is a bit of a tangent, but hear me out.
I'm hearing you out. Yeah.
So like option number one is that you meet someone and they are both really fun to talk to, very amiable, like a cool hang, and they are of good morals at the same time. So like, let's use examples outside of Mansfield Park for all of this.
Bingley.
Yeah, Bingley is a good example of this. Jane Bennet, great example as well. Anybody who's got good morals and is a good hang.
Lizzie Bennet.
Yes, exactly. She's a fantastic hang. And then on the other side, number 4, people with poor morals and who are an excruciating hang. That would be
Elton.
Elton is a great example. Elton and Mrs. Elton.
Yes.
Augusta.
The worst.
Yeah. And so you cannot abide them. You can't hang around them. The like really gray area in terms of spending your time with people are numbers 2 and 3. Number 2 is people who have good morals but are impossible to be around. You're Mr. Collins, for example, potentially. It's a mixed bag, but he's the closest I can think of off the top of my head.
I would think, well, sure. And I think
Mrs. Bates. Miss Bates is a good
Bates.
example of this.
Yeah. Or even, I mean, like, Fanny's kind of boring.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
And then you have your phenomenal hang. And this is the one that is talked about less. Phenomenal hang, someone you really enjoy spending time with who's not a good person.
The Crawfords.
Mary Crawford, Henry Crawford.
Yeah.
And what Fanny is saying here is like, no, I don't mind being around this person, but he's not good morally. But she can't say to her uncle why he's not good morally.
Because she doesn't want to betray her cousins.
Because she can't tell him that her cousin besmirched her own self when she was what? Engaged.
What's still insane to me is that nobody but Fanny noticed that.
And we talked about why. Why didn't anybody else notice?
Because Henry was doing a good job of not being too public about it.
They were holding their shit together in front of most people to an extent that wasn't like bad and embarrassing.
Is it just because of the haha that Fanny knew?
The haha is the baseline for a lot of this.
Ah.
But a lot of this was stuff that just like Fanny cottoned on to because she was overlooked by the two of them while that was happening.
Right. Oh, because they were holding it together in front of everyone but her.
Because they didn't need to think about her.
Right.
And Fanny is also observant.
Yeah.
Because she's had to be.
Yeah.
She sat in the background of every room her whole life.
Now, here's a question.
Yeah.
That we can cut if I sound stupid. But if Fanny's the only person who noticed and nothing happened, is what he did so bad?
Do you know why we know it's bad?
Because Fanny thinks it's bad?
No, not because Fanny thinks it's bad. Fanny's got to stick up her butt. Love her dearly. Respect her choices. But no, it's because we get POV from other characters in this book, and we had Mariah's POV.
And she was in love with him, waiting for him to come for her.
She was convinced that he was going to take her away from her fiancé.
Yeah.
And then he just up and left her.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad behavior.
Yeah.
We're living in the past a little bit, but I think it's worth addressing because like right now, quite honestly, like, yes, is Henry being manipulative? Is Henry pushing too hard on Fanny? Yes. But he is not behaving in the way he did back then.
No, because he's being serious.
He's being serious. He has picked someone to love and someone he thinks will improve his character.
Yeah.
He's picked someone based on thinking that she is a good person. The problem that we have is that she is not picking him back.
Right.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay. Yes.
That was a tangent.
Yes. No, that was a good tangent. And I like that scale. That's a fun way to think about the characters as well.
Oh, yeah. It's a great scale. Well, Mansfield Park is living down at 3 and 4. Like, people are not a fun hang in this book.
Mrs. Grant, but we haven't heard of her in months.
And she's just like off like feeding her husband at the parish.
Yeah.
The real question I think is like who has proven morals here? And at this point, who has proven morals?
Fanny.
And anybody else?
Edmund.
Does he?
No.
He's not living up to his morals.
You're right. You know who I feel like hasn't proven that they have bad morals? Is Big T.
He bankrupted his brother.
Oh, that's nothing.
Like he's the reason Edmund doesn't have the parish.
It's a gambling problem.
He's actually like, if you want to like really tie the story together, we've been reading it for a long time. This is a good chapter to culminate some of this on. Big T is the reason that Edmund's having such troubles marrying Mary Crawford.
Yeah.
Because Mary lives in the parish house right now. It's
Right.
a bigger, nicer, wealthier parish house than the one Edmund is set to get, which is a much more modest. Like, yes, she doesn't want to marry a rector generally, but it's a harder sell when you have less money.
Mm-hmm.
And Edmund has less money because his brother was a vagrant in London.
Yeah.
They're
Sorry,
all-
I tried to defend him. I just wanted someone to be a good hang and a good person.
Fanny is the closest we've got right now.
Yeah. Unfortunate. But listen, we love our girl. We love our girl. Anyway, so obviously she can't tell him about the Mariah and Julia thing. So she hopes that her telling Sir Thomas that she doesn't like Henry will be enough for him to accept her decision. But, quote, to her infinite grief, it is not. It is not enough. Devastating. And then we get a page and a half of Sir Thomas ripping Fanny to shreds.
Let's go to that in the book. So, like, there is a lot to go through here. We can summarize and then we'll like go through a couple quotes I want to go through.
Sure.
Maybe that's a good way to go about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I mean, I can summarize it in a couple sentences. Essentially, he says, "I see this is of no use. You are not the woman I thought you had become." Essentially, he tells her, "I thought that you were not one of those disgusting, headstrong, independent women that are the fashion nowadays. I thought that you were an obedient person. And I can't believe that you are trying to make your own decisions about this. You're never going to get another proposal like Henry Crawford. You are selfish and ungrateful. You aren't thinking of your family and the money that this could provide for them. How dare you, you disgusting person." Like, that's the long and short of it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that happens within that.
So I want to take it sort of beat by beat.
Yeah.
A little bit because I think it is an incredibly important passage for the story, honestly.
Yeah.
So it starts with basically, "I'm not doing this anymore with you.
Mhm.
I've left him waiting. You have, quote, disappointed every expectation I had formed and proved yourself of a character the very reverse of what I have supposed." So you have disappointed every expectation. What's the expectation is a very important starting point.
The expectation was that she was going to work her way up in the world, like move up in the world, right?
And yeah, and not only he's like thrilled with Henry as a find for her,
Mhm.
and it's so much better than that, but he had intended to try to find her someone because otherwise
He was stuck with her forever.
he was going to have to feed her his
Yeah.
whole life.
Yeah.
Her whole
So
life.
this is also coming from a point of selfishness from him.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is what I want to highlight here is that this is tied to those conversations he had with Aunt Norris in the first chapter of the book.
What a dick.
Yeah. Then he says of Fanny's behavior, "I had thought you particularly free from willfulness of temper, self-conceit, and every tendency to that independence of spirit which prevails so much in modern days, even in young women, and in which in young women is offensive and disgusting beyond all common offense."
The fact that he is just putting it out there that he hates a woman who can think for herself or who thinks so highly of her own opinion that she would follow her own opinion without asking for permission or for a man's opinion.
Yeah.
He hates that so much and he's so unafraid to say it is scary.
Yeah, and it's how a lot of people think about young women today.
Mhm.
And I want to hold this quote particularly because Fanny is not like these other girls. Hashtag not like other girls. She is everything a conservative father could want.
Right, like her entire life she's done what she's told.
She is like sweet, very beholden to her morals, very obliging,
Obedient.
obedient, and all those horrible things. The moment she steps out of line for like a second, this is thrown in her face. And this doesn't feel to me like a Jane Austen era thing.
Also it's like she's not stepping out of line to
She is stepping out of line in his mind.
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to say. There is who Fanny is. There is what Jane Austen thinks, which is separate
Yes.
entirely.
Yeah.
And there is what Sir Thomas is saying, which in my personal opinion, I find Sir Thomas to be kind of, as you can tell, abhorrent in this moment. And I think he is spouting something that I hear from elder gentlemen nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And some older ladies too, but it's the men.
It's mostly the men.
And not only is Fanny just about as pliable and sweet a conservative little girl as you could possibly want, I find the frame horrifying. And the very existence of the frame itself horrifying, but I think it's important, and I think it's a framework that Sir Thomas is trying to fit around everybody. And quite honestly, who does fit this description? Mary.
Mary.
Mary fits
Yeah.
this description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the headstrong, like,
Self-conceit,
yeah, exactly.
laden girl. Yeah. Anyway, so that I think is a really important quote for us
Mhm.
to hold on to as we look at Fanny's behavior here, her behavior at this point in the book, and the expectations Sir Thomas is putting on his family, and the moral framework he fences them all in with.
Mm-hmm. But it's so funny.
And flimsy.
It's flimsy, and it's funny because no one else in his family, aside from Edmund, fits in his moral framework.
Even Edmund.
But, like, at least Edmund's
aware of it.
Yeah, like, he knows he's fucking up.
Edmund feels an obligation to follow it.
Right.
Edmund still did the fucking play.
Edmund still did the play.
Edmund still did the fucking play.
You know who didn't do the play?
Fanny Price.
Yeah.
Fanny Price insisted. The last time Fanny Price insisted on something to the point of tears and being called ungrateful was when she refused to be in the fucking play.
Yeah, this is infuriating.
It is infuriating, but we've been building to this chapter.
We have.
The entire book.
Yeah.
I'm on a soapbox now. This is, like, to me, this is the meat of the book right here. This monologue in particular.
Yeah.
So then he goes on to talk about how she is being selfish, and he goes for the jugular of why she's being selfish. And he says the advantage or disadvantage of your family, of your parents, your brothers and sisters, never seems to have had a moment's share in your thoughts on this occasion. How they might be benefited, how they must rejoice in such an establishment of you is nothing to you.
On the one hand, sure, it would have been great for them. But on the other hand, what he is not saying is that all of you are going to continue to be my burden.
Yeah, he's saying why you could have made them all Henry Crawford's problem.
Yeah.
They're his problem.
They're his problem.
They're his fucking problem. He's not doing a great job of taking care of anybody except Fanny and William. And to be fair to him, William, partially at the behest of Henry Crawford,
100% at the behest of Henry Crawford,
is now in a position to maybe feed his family.
And you want to know who didn't do that?
Sir Thomas.
Yeah.
Sir Thomas.
Yeah.
But I think this, to me, like, again, we're going to the economics of dating in Jane Austen, Graham the sound effect, and we are going to the pressure that sits on Fanny. When we talked about this with Henry, you might recall when Henry and Mary were talking about it, and then when we saw Henry propose, I said many times it would never occur to them that Fanny would refuse this. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's in a position where she might feel the need to sell herself off to a bidder to feed a family.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a woman who has enough self-worth in this moment to say, as much as I care about feeding my family, as much as I care about other people in my life, I cannot tie myself to a man I fundamentally think is wrong for me, and I cannot shackle myself to him in matrimony just to make everybody else in my life happy. And that is, in its own right, especially for a girl from such a poor family who has been raised her whole life to be told that her economic situation is at the behest of people who are just generous to her, a pretty big self-worth moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Despite not being a fun hang.
And proves that she's kind of a romantic at heart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even just a romantic, because I think if she found him acceptable of morals, she would be considering him. It's not that she doesn't love him. Part of it is that she loves Edmund.
Yes.
Her cousin crush is shielding her here. But what she says is she doubts his principles. She thinks he's a bad man, and she doesn't want to be married off to a bad man.
No.
And we can have a long discussion about how correct she is about whether or not he's a bad man. The story has not answered that, and Henry Crawford clearly wants to improve his own character here, but that's why she's refusing him in a large part.
Yeah.
Anyway.
While we're going line by line, I wanted to read this next part.
Yes.
He says, "You think only of yourself," which, by the way, is a blow. All of this is a blow, but particularly because all her life she's been told, be grateful, be grateful, be grateful.
Yeah.
And she is always grateful and never thinks of herself. Anyway, he says, "You think only of yourself, and because you do not feel for Mr. Crawford exactly what a young, heated fancy imagines to be necessary for happiness, you resolve to refuse him at once without wishing even for a little time to consider of it, a little more time for cool consideration and for really examining your own inclinations, and are, in a wild fit of folly, throwing away from you such an opportunity of being settled in life, eligibly, honorably, nobly settled, as will probably never occur to you again."
As will probably never occur to you again. First of all, the belittling of her not knowing her own self and feelings. Him being like, because you don't think immediately that he's Prince Charming, you've decided that he's nothing to you. And it's like, no, it's because I think he is a bad man.
Right. But he doesn't know her well enough. He hasn't taken the time to get to know her well enough to know her thoughts.
Yeah, to be fair to Sir Thomas, for only a millisecond, he's not wrong that this is an opportunity that was not likely for Fanny to achieve.
Totally.
And that is not likely to come around again.
Sure. But also, how rude to say that.
But she knows this.
Of course she knows this.
She's aware of her circumstances. The very fact of the matter is that Fanny is aware of all of this. She is not an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And she is still trying to refuse him because she knows her own mind.
It's like, oh my God, I'm probably going to end up cutting this because I don't know if I'm going to be able to think of what it is. But I feel like there is a fairy tale or like some sort of fantasy story where there is a poor family or like a rich family with a poor wench or whatever. And she's like, some evil man has come to take her off their hands. And she's like, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
This is A Court of Thorns and Roses. You're furious with me because I'm right.
Is that what happens in the first book? Because it's been a really long time.
Yeah, that is what happens in the first book.
All right. So, listeners, I have to admit something. As we all know, I read the first Court of Thorns and Roses book and I hated it so much. And I was like, I'm never going to continue that journey. And after like a year of denying it, I have continued the journey and I am enjoying it.
How far into Mist and Fury are you?
34%.
I meant substantively.
Oh. What is happening? So Feyre is in Volaris with
Rhysand. God, I hate myself.
Yeah. And she suddenly left Tamlin a while ago and is like, I'm never going back there. And now she's with him and they are about to go hunt for the cauldron or the book to counteract the cauldron.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't say anything else, but I tried to tell you. I was like, listen, they're not great books.
No, it's still bad, but now I am hooked.
But she is a much better writer after the first one.
I would say that the writing is still kind of mid.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But the first it's actively bad.
Really, really bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, sorry to do that at like the most tense point of this book.
I was gonna say we needed like a break in the tension, but
yeah,
I want to end going through Sir Thomas's crash out here on the last line.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Thomas talks about the fact that he would have happily handed off one of his daughters to Henry Crawford, not Mariah because she's quote nobly married, lol. But he would have said yes to Julia if that had been Henry's choice, and he would have done so happily. But the fact that it's Fanny, who you didn't have the hopes of a good match for, it's like even more unbelievable to him. And he says to Fanny to sort of like end his rant, and I should have been very much surprised had either of my daughters, on receiving a proposal of marriage at any time which might carry with it only half the eligibility of this, immediately and peremptorily, and without paying my opinion or my regard the compliment of any consultation, put a decided negative on it. I should have been much surprised and much hurt by such a proceeding. I should have thought it a gross violation of duty and respect. And then he says this, and I think this is key. You are not to be judged by the same rule. You do not owe me the duty of a child. But Fanny, if your heart can acquit you of ingratitude. And then he cuts himself off because Fanny is sobbing. But he ends on the word ingratitude. Because once again, we are reminded that Fanny Price has to at all times be grateful for her position.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was bestowed on her as a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And she shouldn't have it. She should be sitting in a hovel in Portsmouth.
And you see that she is sobbing, and you're telling her you're begging her for her heart to acquit her of ingratitude, to like release her from ingratitude, to be grateful.
This is why I really focused in on what Mrs. Norris says to her when they are doing the play and Fanny refuses. When she says to her, "You're ungrateful," and then Fanny starts crying in front of everybody. Because that's what Sir Thomas is saying now.
Mm-hmm.
You are ungrateful for what I have given you.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I've asked of you, I've given you everything. I've fed you, I've clothed you, I've raised you up in society. You've gotten this man's attention. All I've asked is you be grateful for what I've given you, for taking you away from your silly mother and your poor drunk father.
Mm-hmm.
And poor Fanny, who is herself inclined to be grateful all the time.
All the time.
Who has been spending the last 8 years of her life terrified that anyone will think she is ungrateful or that she will take ownership of Mansfield Park in a way that is improper,
Mm-hmm.
is just falling apart in front of him as he
Like,
says all this.
To act like she lives there would be too much.
Exactly. Well, that's what's been interesting about volume the second, is that you see Sir Thomas over and over again gently push her towards feeling at home there. He throws her a ball. He makes sure she gets a carriage. He basically sends her to dinner at the Grants and is like, no, that makes sense. They want to honor my niece. He's giving her this place in the family. And it's conditional on playing by his rules.
And why does he do any of that? Like, why did he start to do that? Was
Why?
it because he saw a possibility of getting her a husband, or was it?
Well, we've talked about it a lot, like why Sir Thomas is suddenly taking this interest in Fanny.
Oh, I guess we've named a couple of things, like him coming home. We talked about him coming home and seeing her as part of England, and him being like,
Yeah.
yes, my home.
Which-
Fanny's part of that.
And I mean, there's a couple things. On that note, this separates her from him again
Mm-hmm.
because he was pulling her into being even more England. And she said, no, I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
And that puts her on the other side of the battle again. He's separating her by class in the way
Yep.
he's talking here.
Yep. He was also replacing his daughters with her in a way, like,
And neither of his daughters was ever so openly insubordinate with him.
which is just
Crazy
bonkers.
Because they just fucking lied.
Yeah.
And he didn't have the same expectations of his daughter. He wanted them to marry well, but he would have given them more choice in the matter. See his conversation with Mariah about whether she really wanted to marry Rushworth.
Oh, yeah.
They get more choice in this matter.
Oh, that pisses me off. I forgot about that conversation.
Yeah.
He was like, "Are you sure? Because it seems like you don't like him." And Fanny is telling him now that she doesn't like him.
And he says, "You ungrateful little snit."
That's fucked up.
And in all of that, he noticed the attentions of Henry Crawford and saw an opportunity to raise Fanny up in the world, and then that will have been his good deed, full circle completed. He would be happy to see her well settled, and he would have truly risen her up to his class level. I mean, not exactly because they're not nobility, but you know what I mean.
But it's not coming out of a place of love for Fanny.
I mean, there's a question of whether or not there's affection for Fanny. It is true that she is dispositionally exactly what he likes in a young girl.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a woman of good principles, and he was seeing some of that. But it's all conditional.
Mm-hmm.
These emotions come with strings attached.
Yeah.
So it's not out of like sheer abstract hatred for Fanny or like complete unfeeling towards her, but it's all tied up in this transactional nature of their relationship.
Yeah.
Which is that I fed you and clothed you for years. The least you can do is marry this rich man.
Anyway.
I'm fired up this
Yeah.
board.
So he stops because Fanny is sobbing. And she's like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And he's like, "Yeah, you better be sorry, and I think you will be sorry for a long time." And she's like, "I would have said yes if I could, but I know that I could never make him happy and that I would be miserable." Now, despite the fact that she says she would be miserable and despite the fact that she is literally sobbing, I think the fact that she says, "I would have said yes if I could," sparks a little hope in Sir Thomas because he thinks, maybe if Henry perseveres and she hears this from Henry himself, she might change her mind.
Yes. And he also sees how gentle and sweet and how receptive she is to criticism,
Yeah, if you yell at me, I'm gonna cry.
which means you can kind of bully her into things,
Yeah.
which we know is true of Fanny generally. Ultimately, she kind of does take a role in the play, like very briefly.
Yeah, that is true. So he tells her to stop crying and come with him and tell Henry that he misunderstood her sentiments and she doesn't love him and she's not going to marry him because he's like, I'm not going to do that for you. But then he looks at her and decides maybe it would be better if Henry didn't see her like this because she looks bad. And so he leaves her to cry alone.
Yeah, I think that is my funniest moment of the chapter where he's like, "Oh man, I can't leave him hanging down there." And then he sees her and she's got like snot dribbling and she's like, if he sees her like this, he might not think she's cute anymore. So let's leave that at that.
Yeah, it's tough. She is heartbroken over this whole thing. Nothing having to do with Henry, of course, but she's heartbroken over having lost Sir Thomas's favor. And she wishes that Edmund were there. But at the same time, she's also like, would Edmund think the same thing? Would he think that I'm ungrateful?
Would he?
I mean, he hasn't proven to me that he wouldn't because there was a moment early on where he told her that she was being ungrateful for something.
She didn't want to go live with Aunt Norris.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. That was it. So, with that as the proof, all I can say is that I do think there is a possibility that he would think she's being ungrateful.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. But also, she is mad at Henry for all of this. And now she's worried that he really loves her and is suffering. And
she's
that,
like, well, fuck.
she's like, shit, I'm mad at him. And also, am I breaking his heart? Just everything layering on top of itself to make
Yeah,
real.
now she's like empath challenge 101. Like, I feel bad for the guy who I refuse because I think he's a bad person.
Yeah, this is a tough situation to be in if you're Fanny Price. So 15 minutes later, Sir Thomas comes back up and tells her that Henry is gone. And I do want to note that he said that Henry left upon my representation of what you were suffering. And he agreed to go away just for now. So I don't think that Sir Thomas accurately represented what Fanny was suffering. That's my prediction. So we'll see if he actually told him that she wasn't interested. He says that there is the probability that Henry's going to want to talk to her probably tomorrow when she's calmed down. So dry your tears, go for a walk, and never mention this to anyone. He says, let's not talk to your aunts about this. And Fanny is very on board with that plan because she does not want to see Mrs. Norris and does not want to be yelled at about this.
Nope.
She said she would rather see Henry again than suffer Mrs. Norris's opinions. So she goes for a walk, just like he suggested, thinking like, okay, I'll do what he says. And she's trying to pull herself together so that Mrs. Norris won't ask her what's wrong at dinner. But when she gets back to the East Room, there's a fire going.
There is a fire going.
And this just sends her into a tizzy because she's like, after all that, he's still
got the fire going.
Like, I must really be an ungrateful bastard.
Yeah.
And so she's just all wrecked again. Like, and I'm like, why did he still get the fire going?
Well, we're going to ask that in the study questions.
All right,
We're going to talk
cool.
about it.
We'll talk about it later then. So at dinner, Sir Thomas is acting normal. I don't know if this means normal like he has been acting around her or normal like before.
I think how he has been acting. He's
Okay.
like cordial and like treating her like one of the family.
Okay. Mrs. Norris, however, still has something to be mad at her for because Fanny went for a walk without telling her.
And she was like, "Oh, I wanted you to do some errands for
Yeah,
me."
she's like, I ended up having to go all the way to my house to give my servant an order, which you could have carried out for me had I known that you were on a walk. How dare you? It would make no difference to you if you were walking in the shrubbery or on the path to my house. And Sir Thomas is like, well, actually, I told her to go in the shrubbery because it was the driest path. And she's like, well, the path to my house is dry. And then Mrs. Norris says, but Fanny has always liked to go her own way, and she doesn't like to be told what to do. Always taking an independent walk. Quote, she has a spirit of secrecy and independence and nonsense. Essentially saying all the same things that Sir Thomas just said, right? But Sir Thomas thinks that's an unfair reflection of Fanny in general.
Except that I
Except,
just spent the last half hour blaring that shit at her.
yeah. And this is an interesting moment because obviously he doesn't say anything. He just changes the subject. But for him to internally be like, when he hears someone else saying it, to be like, wait a minute, that's not accurate. Oh, wait, that's what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, he's not going to turn to her and apologize in this moment. But I wonder if he will have any further self reflection and talk to her and be like, I mean, like, I don't think he will. Like, I don't think he'll be like, oh, I heard Mrs. Norris saying that and it didn't ring true. And obviously, I just said all of that and more, and I'm sorry. Like, that would be really cool. But I don't think that's going to happen. But it's interesting that he was like aware enough to be like, hey, wait a minute. And then be like, oh, wait a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. He's of two minds on Fanny.
Yeah. Anyway, Mrs. Norris continues to just yell at Fanny, talk at Fanny is what the book says, for half the dinner. But after Mrs. Norris stops her nonsense, Fanny feels a little bit more cheerful and feels like she did the right thing in turning down Mr. Crawford. And maybe Sir Thomas will come around eventually when he realizes what a terrible thing it would be to marry without affection, which we know he knows it is because he said to Mariah, are you sure you want to marry Mr. Rushworth? You don't seem to like him very much. But that's another story. The next day, when Fanny does not get an invitation to go meet Henry, she thinks maybe she's dodged a bullet. Maybe he's left already. So she's like, okay, he's going to get over me so fast in London. Like, there's women galore down there. It's going to be fine. She thinks that he will be thankful for, quote, the right reason in her which had saved him from its evil consequences, it being his affection, essentially thinking he's going to feel like he dodged a bullet, which is sad that she thinks so little of herself, but also makes me think, okay, the main reason that she feels like she needed to say no, aside from thinking that he's a bad person, like the biggest part of it is that she doesn't think that she would make him happy. Anyway, eventually, after tea, her uncle is called away and she thinks nothing of it until the butler comes back and says, Sir Thomas wants to speak to you in his room. And she starts panicking. And she gets up to go. And Mrs. Norris gets up as well and is like, definitely not. He wants to speak to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and she's like, you are so presumptuous.
Yeah, how dare you when he comes in and says, Miss Price, he wants to talk to you. How dare you stand up? Obviously, he meant Mrs. Norris. This was my other funniest quote, so I'll probably stick with this. But she's like, it's definitely me, not you. Sit down. And Fanny is like, okay. And then the butler is like, no, he definitely asked for Miss Price. And then he gives her a look that's like, I don't think Mrs. Norris will do the trick for like what he's asking for or something. But he doesn't say that out loud.
Yeah,
but
I love the under the skin way. We haven't really been tracking that much, but the servants fucking hate Mrs. Norris.
I know, it's incredible.
Every time the servants interact with Mrs. Norris, you get like another like snippet of how they feel about her.
Yeah. The exact quote is, and there was a half smile with the words which meant, I do not think you would answer to the purpose at all. The purpose being that Henry Crawford is back.
Yeah, and not into Mrs. Norris.
And Henry Crawford is famously not into Mrs. Norris.
Yeah.
So anyway, Fanny follows him and finds herself face to face with Henry Crawford alone.
And the curtain falls.
Because
that's the end of the chapter.
Yep.
Can't remember when I thought we would do 2 chapters of these two.
Yeah, no, that would have been a 7-hour long episode.
That brings us to the study questions. First, we're going to do the patron study questions. Listeners, if you want to ask study questions on air, you can become a patron at our $15 tier on Patreon. And then Molly will submit a Google Doc to you guys. You can submit your questions and we will answer them. So Janae asks, we know why she doesn't, but what do you think might have happened if Fanny told her uncle the real reason she didn't want to marry Mr. Crawford? How do you think Sir Thomas would have responded? Would he have believed her or trusted her judgment?
Good question. I'm inclined to say he would not have believed her because we talked about this a little bit, but nobody but Fanny
Saw.
noticed or saw.
I mean, Mary saw, but she's not going to like cop to it.
No, of course not. So I think that it would have gone over poorly. He would have been like, "How dare you slander my daughters like that?" And I think it would have just like stacked onto Fanny's slights against him. But I do think that because he is of two minds and of Fanny, he might have later reflected on it and there might be some like, "Oh shit, was she right?" But in the moment, I don't think that would have gone over well, and
Yeah.
I don't think it would have changed his opinion about Mr. Crawford.
Yeah, it's a serious accusation, especially if you put it in the context of like what you hear Sir Thomas saying to Fanny about where she is in the world. I can't help but read a little bit of compassion for Mariah into it from Fanny.
Totally.
I mean, I think you are right. There's a self-preservation aspect to it, but it feels like she's afraid of what will happen to Mariah if this gets out.
Well, yeah, I think that is why she doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally think that's why she doesn't.
And imagine what Sir Thomas would say if he did believe Fanny.
Well, I didn't even consider if he did believe her. But I imagine he would get rid of Henry Crawford, but I don't think it would have helped Fanny's cause. I think he would have been mad at Fanny and would have try to stop her from spreading that rumor because he's going to protect his daughters at all costs. I think so. He would want that to be like shut down and quieted up, and maybe a lot of money would go into quieting it up, and like that part of Henry Crawford, like pay him off to go away or something.
What do you think I'm going to do?
Neither confirm nor deny.
Neither confirm nor deny. All right. So Avi asks, how do the events of this chapter shape your view of Fanny? Does her refusal to break signify a change, or is it something that was there all along? I think we kind of touched on this, but it's worth talking about.
Yeah, we've touched on it a little bit. I think that Fanny is a romantic who will not marry without love. And I think we already knew that. I also think that it does signify something that is there all along, which is her steadfast morals.
Yes.
What you were saying before is true. Like, she doesn't want to marry him because she thinks he's a bad man and she doesn't want to compromise on her morals. Like, she's compromised on her morals once before with the play,
Not even really.
but not even. It was like at the very, very end.
The play is sort of like the foreshadow to this.
Right. Which was like, she said no, no, no. At the end, she was bullied into coming on stage, but she didn't end up having to do the play. And she didn't choose to do the play. She's the only one who didn't. And so we know that she can stand her ground when she really believes in something.
Yeah, Fanny is a pliable character about things that are light, things that don't matter, but she is not.
Well, she's a pliable character about things that have nothing to do with morals. Like, ask her to go run an errand for you and she'll do it.
Yeah, she's not a pushover when it comes to her own principles. Compare that to a couple other characters here.
Edmund
is the one that really comes to mind, isn't he? Because he's got those same morals.
He hasn't married Mary Crawford yet.
Nobody did act in the play.
He did act in the play.
He chose to be in that play.
Mm-hmm.
And he has been fiddling back and forth about whether or not to be with Mary Crawford. And every time, his morals versus his horny on Maine.
Horny on Maine wins out.
Tends to.
Yeah.
That concludes our patron study questions. We're going to go into the Becca study questions now. How does the relationship between Sir Thomas and Fanny shift during that argument?
It's broken.
Is it?
I think it's back to what it was before.
That he was normal at dinner.
He was normal at dinner.
And the fire was there.
And the fire was there. Good point, good point, good point. Okay, so here's the thing. He did leave their encounter after absolutely demolishing her. He left thinking, maybe there's still hope that she'll change her mind because If we yell at her, she'll cry. And if Henry talks to her again with his smooth talking ways, maybe she'll change her mind. He thinks that she doesn't know her own feelings well enough to know how she feels about him. So I think there is hope for their relationship in his mind.
Mm.
Fanny feels like she has failed him in every way. She's not mad at him. She is mad at herself, which is textbook emotional manipulation. But I think that any friendship that had built between them, even though he got her the fire and was normal at dinner, I think that something is broken after you yell at someone like that. I also think that it's possible that he's using the fire as a point of leverage. Like, I'm still going to continue doing things for you. Maybe you'll continue doing things for
Yeah.
me.
What do you think will be the result of this mismatch? You've really articulated how they both walked away from the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
which is Sir Thomas being like, "Oh, I saw how pliable she can be. I can see how deeply she feels. There is room for me to push her into this." And Fanny left the conversation like, "Thank God he's relented a little bit. I can breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I've refused him, and Sir Thomas will have to deal with it at some point, but clearly he's letting me do my thing."
Yep.
Which is shattered when at the end of the chapter he says Henry Crawford's here,
Yep.
essentially.
Yep.
So what do you think it will be the result of that mismatch?
I wonder if it'll make her get smaller, like make her regress into her
Mhm.
old ways of like never talking back and always doing what he asks. Or on the flip side, if there's a possibility that she saw that she stood up to him and they still were able to continue on as normal, will she think that like maybe she can continue standing up to him? I don't think that's super likely based on how much she was crying. But at the same time, she felt like he's still giving me the fire and he's still acting normal. And I think maybe there's a chance that he's going to come around to my way of thinking and see that it's a terrible thing to marry without love. So maybe there's a possibility that it'll embolden her to continue to ask for what she wants and like take up space. But I feel like it's more likely that we're going to get quiet, meek Fanny Price back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to posit on this sort of conversation, just to go back briefly to how their relationship changed. There's a way in which it changes here. There's a way in which it doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation merely exposes some of the dysfunction and rot at the core of the dynamic.
That's true.
Because they go back to normal afterwards. They
Mm-hmm.
pretend it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because in his mind, he's found a way to justify this and fix the dynamic. And in her mind, she's found a way to justify this and fix the dynamic. And so he's good at dinner. He defends her against Aunt Norris, even in his own braid. The fire is going in the room. But at the end of the day, when he found out that she was probably going to disobey him about something, that was how he reacted.
Yeah, the power dynamic is very
Intense.
imbalanced. Yeah. Like he holds a lot of power over her and his masculinity is very fragile.
Yeah.
So the minute he's threatened with disobeying his power, he explodes.
I'm the man of the house.
Yeah.
I hold this house to certain moral standards and principles. I have given you everything that you could never have had without me. You will obey.
And then when she submits and cries and is wrecked, he says, "Good.
Yeah.
As you were."
Well, what he says is, "Ooh, okay, well, she's crying a lot now. And the way she says this makes me think I can push her to do it. And I won't have all this crying. This crying is too much. I don't want to make her upset."
Yeah, let's go on with the day and then
Yeah.
we'll come back to this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And on that, the fire starts the chapter and ends the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you make of that circle?
The fire has been a player in this book the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I've been like, it's interesting how she apologizes for there not being a fire. And I've known that it was Mrs. Norris who said
Didn't allow it.
Yeah, there can't be a fire.
Yeah, basically, like, it's been this symbol of her having this little fucking Cinderella loft.
But it doesn't have basic comforts.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with him seeing that she didn't have those, and when they were still on very good terms, or good terms in their way, he was like, "Well, this is a misunderstanding. Of course you should have a fire."
And now he's like, listen, you need time to figure out things on your own. In the meantime, I'm going to make you happy. Look what you can have if you're still part of my family.
Look what you can have if you continue to do what I say. And look what you can have if you are part of the upper class.
Yes. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here as you ponder that,
Mhm.
and go to the writing for a second. Austen writes this chapter very intensely.
Mhm.
She writes immense dialogue. This is some of the most intense dialogue we've gotten in Mansfield Park yet.
Mhm.
With the exception of there's a lot of dialogue coming from the Crawfords together,
Mhm.
but we don't get a lot of this from the Bertrams.
Mm-mm.
If you think about the proposal scene in the last chapter, not heavy on the dialogue. We talked about it at the time. It's sort of narrated from Fanny's perspective, and it's kind of a spurt and gone.
Mhm.
Whereas this scene reads more like Proposal Geddon in Pride and Prejudice. Not like exactly like it, obviously, because that has a little bit more humor injected into it. But it's a nadir, the culmination. This is the big Kahuna chapter,
Mhm.
not the proposal chapter. Why?
Because this is the chapter where the proposal is realized as a real thing. Like, the last chapter, it was a joke. Like, she thought that it was not a genuine proposal. The main thing was that her brother was promoted. And in this chapter, it's the real proposal. He came to her uncle and asked for her hand, and her uncle is coming to get her. And, like, this is the real,
Mm-hmm.
actual proposal,
Okay,
I
yeah,
think.
that is very true.
And the consequences of the proposal. This is like the consequences, right? Like, this is her saying no and him saying, "How dare you?" She didn't really give
Yeah,
an answer in the last one.
yeah.
So I think that's why this one's a little bit bigger.
Okay,
Is that right?
it's not wrong. It's definitely correct. I'm going to add to it.
Okay.
And I'm going to do this delicately without kind of like overframing the book. But in this chapter, Henry Crawford is somewhat beside the point.
Right. Right.
We have been spending a lot of time talking about the cousin crush
Mhm.
and about our boy, the nutty boy Henry Crawford, and which one's right for Fanny, which one's wrong for Fanny, the flaws of these two men, the intense flaws. But the most important confrontation of the book thus far is not with one of these men.
It's with her uncle.
It's with her uncle.
And it's about her.
And it's about her and her role in the family and her morals and whether or not she is being a proper woman in society the way he raised her to be at the behest of other people. So ultimately, this chapter tells me Jane Austen wants us focused on Sir Thomas and Fanny
Mhm.
in a way that she's not putting focus on the boys.
Yeah.
So in a large way, this is an important part of the story to hold on to.
Yeah.
In some ways, more so even than what's going on right now with the romances. I'm not saying it's going to stay that way necessarily,
Mhm.
but that's where the book is right now.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there have been times, now I'm not jumping to conclusions, but there have been times that I've thought that this isn't a love story and that it's not a romance novel in the same way that the other ones are, where, like, ultimately I don't actually see Fanny with either of these men. I thought maybe I could see her with Henry for a little bit, but with the vehemence of her denial, or her rejection,
It's difficult.
I don't see her changing her mind. That would just be a very different book from the one we're reading right now, which is like totally, like, if it happens, great. But right now it definitely feels like it's more about Fanny and it's about her class and it's about how family dynamics can, like, shift and change around that. It's about, like, what makes a person a good person. And, like, Sir Thomas can claim he has morals, but, like,
He also has an estate in Antigua.
yeah, he's like the problem. Like, he is.
You might even say he's the problem with the British upper class.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean when I say he's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's him. He's emblematic of the problem.
It's him. Hi, he's the
He's the
problem.
problem.
It's him.
Yeah. So he's actually a 4 on your scale? Like, bad morals and bad hang?
Yeah, he's a bad hang and he's got bad morals.
But he's claiming that anyway.
He's so obsessed with the morals, though.
Yeah.
He is like, and this is a familiar figure to us. That's part of the reason, like, there are a lot of things to be sympathetic to with Sir Thomas in some of the previous chapters we've been reading. And I haven't wanted to form your opinion too hard, but I have a hard time with Sir Thomas as a character. And I think I'm supposed to,
Yeah.
from the Jane Austen perspective, because his monologue about what his morals are is, to me, familiar
Yeah.
and timeless
Mhm.
in an unfortunate manner.
Mhm.
And I hear it and I think about the things that have been said to me and the women I love that sound a lot like that in the last few decades.
Mhm.
We'll leave it there. Funniest quote?
Okay. I'm gonna give it to this. So Fanny has just been called to Sir Thomas's room. This is, like, the last thing that happens, and she was preparing to obey when Mrs. Norris called out, "Stay, stay, Fanny. What are you about? Where are you going? Don't be in such a hurry. Depend upon it, it is not you that are wanted. Depend upon it, it is me," looking at the butler. "But you are so very eager to put yourself forward. What should Sir Thomas want you for? It is me, Baddeley." Also, his name is Baddeley. "Baddeley, you mean? I am coming at this moment. You mean me, Baddeley, I am sure. Sir Thomas wants me, not Miss Price." But Baddeley was stout. "No, ma'am, it is Miss Price. I am certain of its being Miss Price."
Oh, fantastic.
It's so good.
It's so
It's
good.
just like the fact that she goes on so hard. Like, "No, no, 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 it's definitely me."
Yeah, I know. I know she's like the worst, but boy, is she funny.
She's all like, she is unfortunately our comic relief.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, I mean, I don't want to, we'll get to it when we get to the end, but Jane Austen was doing some really weird stuff with Aunt Norris. So, anyway, questions moving forward.
I am left with the question of whether this will end up being a love story in the end. And I really want to know what's going to happen in this conversation between Henry and Fanny. Also, like, why are they alone? Where did Sir Thomas go?
Unchaperoned.
They're unchaperoned.
Who wins the chapter?
I mean, we have to give it to Fanny.
This
Like,
is a big fatty win.
like,
Are you kidding?
well, I mean, she wins in terms of, like, we are rooting for her at this moment, but she got really yelled at and, like, she was in a bad way for a minute.
Yeah, she had a tough time, but
But
she stood strong.
She stood strong and she made it out alive.
Yep.
And that's all we can really ask.
Yeah, and that's all any of us can really ask. Like, the sun is still rising on her day.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. So Fanny, take this win, girl.
Hats off to you, girl. You might be a little bit uptight. You might be a bad hang, but good for you for actually sticking to your principles.
Yeah, Fanny, I would hang out with you.
Might be not that fun, but I certainly would.
We could play cribbage.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
Listeners, that concludes this, I'm sure, very overstuffed episode of Pod and Prejudice. For next time, we're going to do 2 chapters again, and we're going to read chapters 2 and 3 of volume the 3rd, or if your book is not volume, chapters 33 and 34. Molly, you ready for that?
He's so ready.
Then until next time, stay proper.
And stick to your guns. Be like
Stick to
Fanny
your
Price.
guns.
Yeah.
Pod and Prejudice is edited by Molly Burdick and audio produced by Graham Cook. Our show art is designed by Torrance Brown. Our show is transcribed by SpeechDocs Podcast Transcription. For transcripts and to learn more about our team, check out our website at podandprejudice.com. To keep up with the show, you can follow us on social media at Pod and Prejudice. If you love what you hear, check out our Patreon to see how you can support us, buy some merch at podandprejudice.dashery.com, or just drop us a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts. Stay proper.